What's up, everybody? Bobby with Tech360.tv, and we're talking about a phone that just came out of nowhere, literally. Like a few weeks ago, a phone was announced from Xiaomi that's coming to India only, called the Poco F1, right? And the reason there was some buzz about this phone is because all of a sudden there was a flagship sort of budget phone. So the tech world went crazy, and within a few weeks, Xiaomi said, screw it, let's go global with this thing. And here we are today in Singapore with the Poco F1 with my hands-on first impressions of this phone. Let's get down to it. First and foremost, let's talk about the design of this smartphone. 6.18-inch IPS LCD display, 6.2 inches, good size. I have to say, you know what? Some phones are really big out there and some phones are a little bit too small. This is the sweet spot for a smartphone these days, especially with the content we're taking in. Really well balanced. It's not too narrow, not too wide. It's plastic on the back, but it feels solid, feels really well built. I mean, this does not feel like a budget phone at all. But let's get what's inside of this phone. Okay, let's get to the features of this. A Snapdragon 845 processor. Now, this is the latest from Qualcomm's processors. I mean, it's fast, it's got the Adreno 630 graphics card in there. This is flagship level. 6 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of onboard storage, but you have an SD card slot so you can expand that. 4,000 milliamp battery. You got Qualcomm's quick charging on this 3.0, so it charges very, very quick. Headphone jack. You got one speaker. For the cameras, you have one 12 megapixel sensor and one 5 megapixel sensor. The front-facing camera is a 20 megapixel shooter. All this on a phone that costs 449 Singapore dollars or 299 US dollars. I'm gonna keep mentioning the price because that is what is the most amazing thing about this phone, is how inexpensive it is for what you're getting. Well, what's it like to use this? Now, first off, you're running the MIUI. Now, this is Xiaomi's sort of skin over Android 8.1. It's a little cartoonish, but overall it feels more stock than other skins. I don't notice much lag at all, if any. I would say, browsing through Instagram, I would notice wasn't be as responsive as other phones, so that could be due to the UI. But I have heard that they are going to upgrade it to MIUI 10.0 very soon, so that could fix a lot of that. But overall, day-to-day performance, it's quick, it's snappy. It's an 845 processor in this, so it's not going to be slow. Also, we have a fingerprint reader on the back of it, but I will say that the fingerprint reader is very close to the cameras, so you are going to smudge the camera lens. But forget about the fingerprint reader. It's got face unlock, and this is fast. I don't know how secure this is, but honestly, I'm not in the government. I'm not some security guy, so I really don't have anything to worry about on my phone. It works for my face, I'm happy, but here, that's how fast. Again, that's it. Cameras are interesting though in this, because the first thing we always think about performance, but then cameras. How does it shoot? And I wasn't expecting much on it, but images are decent, but there's a lot of noise reduction. There's a lot of processing going on. And I thought it was beauty mode, but I turned it all off, but it's still there. Low light is decent. I compared it to the iPhone 10. I can show you some images right here. The iPhone 10's colors are a little bit more muted. This is a little bit more saturated, but you will see a little bit more detail in the iPhone 10. And yeah, it's not fair to compare a phone that's $1,000+ to $449, but I thought, hey, look, 12 megapixel, let's see how it shoots. And it does pretty decent for 449 Singapore dollars. But let's get to the front-facing camera. Now, one thing about Chinese company phones is, I call it the China white look, is that they like to overexpose and desaturate, or I don't know what it is, but we all start looking whiter than what we are. I work hard on my tan, whatever I have here, and the phone gets rid of it. I look like Edward from Twilight. It's not as bad as some phones from China, but it's not as natural as it could be. It's just a little bit too white. I call it the China white look. I'm coining that phrase. Now, while the images might be a little bit too processed, it actually does have AI and HDR built in this as well. So it does detect certain scenes. So if you're shooting trees, it'll show a little leaf, a person, so forth like that. Honestly, AI on a lot of these phones are hit and miss. I turned it off because sometimes I feel that it tries to boost up the color a little bit too much, and the colors are already naturally saturated in the camera, but teach their own. Try it, see what you think of it, but it has it in it still. And HDR works pretty good. Has portrait mode as well. Videos 4K recording. Seriously, 4K recording on a phone at 449 Singapore dollars. It's insane. Let's talk about battery life though. because, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I've only used the phone for a few days, so I don't think it's a fair assessment to give you a long-term review, but I'm gonna give you my initial first impressions. I did a test the other night. Took the phone off the charger, had about 95, 97% on it. I decided to stream YouTube videos throughout the night. Took it off around 11 o'clock at night, right? Put on the videos, let it run. Woke up the next morning at 7, it was still going. It finally died off around 9 a.m. running YouTube videos, and the display was at full brightness. That's impressive. Now, I can't tell you what it's like to use it day in and day out. I haven't done that yet, but just by that alone, with this display and that battery life, you're gonna get through a day, no problems at all. And then let's talk about comparison. Let's put it up to the test. Let's see how well this performs to a flagship phone with the same specs from Sony. We're gonna play Need for Speed. So what I wanna do is test to see how well this phone performs in gaming versus a flagship phone that costs maybe 3 times as much versus the Pocophone F1. So here we go, at the same time, to see how both of these go. 3, 2, 1. Right now you're seeing that they are almost neck and neck in terms of boot up time for the games. I mean, it looks exactly the same. That's impressive for this phone. So, this is now, there's a new segment in the smartphone game, and it's called the budget flagship. And the Pocophone F1 has the crown and is walking the parade. Those are my thoughts on the Pocophone F1. Let me know your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Until the next one, take care.